I think we're supposed to have a countdown show. Okay, guys, can anyone hear me? So, hi everyone, welcome to today's session. Go ahead to drop a message on the Discord server so that more people can join into this to tonight's to today's session. On the call, I have with me Polali. She's a product manager at Afrologic Solutions, and she's based in Greater Accra, Ghana. Thank you, Polali, for being on this session.
Thank you for
Thank you for
having
agreeing
me.
to do this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. This is perfect. So you can go ahead and have and start your class. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. As earlier mentioned, my name is Palali Isi Lajepo, and today I'll be talking about the Agile development. I'd, a quick overview of what I'll be speaking on would be Agile development, what it is, the history of the Agile framework. I'd also talk about some frameworks um, that Agile has, which I'd zoom into the Scrum and then Kanban. And then I'd leave you off with some common applications that product managers can use when using the Agile method. So let's go right into it. What is Agile development? So, Agile is a flexible way of working together to um, to deliver on a certain value for your customers. Now, with Agile, it values collaboration, it values customer feedback, and then it also values adaptability. Agile focuses on delivering value to customers through iterative and incremental development. What this means is that when you are using Agile, the product or project is delivered in small chunks th- and it is delivered um, easily quickly and often so that at every point in time you are on track on your plan. Now, now that we've explained what agile development is, I'd like to go into where product management came from in terms of how we were working on delivery before the agile method came about, and why did agile even have to come. Now, before agile, there were ways of delivering projects and products, but maybe they had some disadvantages or flaws in them. So agile came to make things better. Initially, there was a method called the waterfall method or approach. And with that, everything is done sequentially. What that means is that before the product is developed, there are governance processes, there are things to be signed off, there are there are requirements to be documented before the product is developed or the development phase starts. And after development phase, or only after development phase, is where we bring in testing. Then the product is tested. Once product is tested and everything is fine, we move on to release. As I've said it this way, it sounds like, oh, this is a good way of delivering. But it had some flaws, being that there were mostly delays while developing the product, because you'd have to wait for development to be over before you go into testing. If development takes longer to finish, it means that testing takes longer to start, which also means that if there are any problems with the product, coming back to development, that is going to be some more days, some more hours, some more even months or years. So there was a decision to find another way of doing things to make delivery of products easier. That's where the agile methodology came from, and it was introduced in the early 2000s. Now, when it came in 2001, some software developers wrote out or formulated the Agile Manifesto. And this Agile Manifesto emphasizes on four key things. First one is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. This means that instead of um, thinking about what processes, what tools, and all of that, we were focusing more on the people on the team and interacting with the people on the team. Then it also talks about working solutions over comprehensive documentation. There's no time to waste on documenting so much when there could possibly be a change tomorrow. And remember that Agile is adaptable, which means that it is open to changes. It embraces changes. So if you spend more time documenting and tomorrow it changes, then the time is wasted, right? Then the third one would be customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And then lastly, responding to change over following a plan. Now, when or after the manifesto, Agile kept improving, and some of the frameworks that or practices of Agile that became more popular were the Scrum and then Extreme Programming, which was used by software developers for quick delivery cycles and then adaptive planning. The Kanban framework was also introduced at a point where the concept of visualizing your your tasks you have would go deeper into Kanban soon, but then you would have a board where you would be able to see what things you have in your backlog, what things you are doing in progress, what things are in testing, what things are done. And that way you're able to see your progress once it is happening. It's not that you would go back and look for the document. Hey, where is it? Where is it? No, it is a board right in the middle or somewhere that everyone in the team can see and know the tasks they have left, the tasks they've completed, and all of that. It also helps to limit the work in progress. Work in progress here means that the number of things you have on your hand that you are doing. You see one person says, I'm building a landing zone, I'm building the landing page, I'm building user the login, I'm building, you are not building all at the same time. You are building one at a time. So you take one, you finish, you take the other one, you finish. It's able to let you see that you are working in a small chunk procedure. That is the Kanban approach. Now, today, we see that Agile is leading in the, even though we have so many approaches to development and product management, we see that Agile is still leading in all of this. So, that's also why we are learning or we are talking about Agile. Now, I'll go into the frameworks that we have for Agile. I'll start with the Scrum. The Scrum is basically teamwork, right? Scrum is basically teamwork. There's a goal you need to achieve, which is delivering value to your customers. Now, Scrum takes the whole project, breaks it down into small chunks, which in Scrum we call sprints. We'll talk more about sprints going forward, but with Scrum, the small chunks that we have are called sprints. And Scrum works on or writes on the back of teamwork, which is collaboration, communication, transparency, right? There are there are three pillars or core values of Scrum, which I'll be talking about. The first one is transparency. Now, transparency is a very crucial part of the Agile development um, framework or method because every team member at every point in time needs to know everything about the project. They need to be aware of everything. They need to know what they are supposed to do and when they are supposed to do it. All of that can only happen if everybody is involved in the process. Everybody is working together as a team, knowing that in the end they are to develop or to meet a certain value or goal. Now, the second one would be inspection. Inspection is basically what we call peer review. basically you have done some work, but yes, you feel like you're confident in your work and all of that, but then sometimes you just need a third eye, someone else to look into your work. That is what inspection is. Now, with inspection, everybody, or with Scrum, everybody in the development team is also supposed to, or is also involved in the inspection as well. So peer reviews are not only done by some auditor or something. No, the in the Scrum team, everybody watches each other's back in order to produce the the valuable product that we are aiming at. The final one, or the third one, would be the adaptation. Now, adaptation is the pillar that makes the most impact on the product, because it focuses on how the product will do in the market once it goes live. So it has all the research and makes sure, or ensures that it doesn't fail once it goes live. That is adaptation. Now, now that we've spoken about the Scrum team and what the framework is about, we'll go into who is in the Scrum team. Which people do we have in our Scrum team? The Scrum team is not a team of only developers, or a team of only product managers, or a team of, let me say, technology people. No, a Scrum team is a cross functional team. This means that there are people who have little to no knowledge of technology. There are people who have in-depth knowledge of technology as well, and they all come together, work together to still deliver on the product. Some of the people, or some of the roles that are in the Scrum team, are the ones I've listed here, which I'll be speaking about. It's not limited to these people alone, but these are the people I would be speaking more to or about. First, we have the product owner. The product owner is the decision maker, is the one who has the answers to what should the product be, what are we developing, what are we doing, what are the requirements for the product, what what should we expect, or what are you expecting the product to be. You can look at the product owner as your customer, the person who understands what he wants and comes to you to build for him. That is the product owner. Now, we also have the software engineers in the team. The software engineers are the developers. We have the front end, we have the back end engineers. These people are those who do the coding work for us. Yeah. Then we go on, we have the quality assurance engineers, usually called the QA testers. Now, these people are the people who look for and find bugs in your product. They look for the small things that make that that show that your your product might not do well in the market. They look for the very little things that are not going to help with user experience, and they try to make fix them before it goes out, or during the development phase. We also have the Scrum Master, who is the facilitator. The Scrum Master is the one who says it's time for daily stand up, it's time for retrospective, it's time for this. That is the Scrum Master. For some teams, the product manager does the work of the Scrum Master, and there's no one or there's no designated Scrum Master for the team. In such cases, um, the product manager combines requirements, um, requirements documentation, and everything with facilitating the team and making sure that they deliver on their goal. The UI UX designer, the UI UX designer also or designers are the creatives of the team. They design what the front end would look like, how good or um how easy it would be for the users to scroll through, or the most practical way your requirements should be shown so that users are able to easily use the application. Now we also have the security specialists. These are very crucial people for your development or Scrum team. They work they work with the developers or everybody actually, and then they guard you or guide you in a way that once you are developing your product, once it goes out, it is secured. You wouldn't have breaches, you wouldn't have fraudsters, hackers getting into your product anyhow. Yes, so that is the security specialist, to make sure that your product is secured once it goes out. Then we have the DevOps engineers as well. The DevOps engineers are the deployment experts. They are the ones who create your pipelines for deployment work to be done. And all these people come together to make the Scrum team. Everybody's role is clearly spelled out, and everybody's role is crucial to making sure that we have high quality um, products out for our customers or our users to use. Now, in the Scrum team, there are a few events um, that are commonly heard of or you would hear of in your Scrum team. There are ceremonies that facilitate collaboration and progress. Now, I'll start with the sprint planning. Sprint planning is mainly about collaboration. It's usually brief and focused. Now, you'd have in a Scrum team or in Scrum, you would have a product backlog. The backlog is the list of all tasks that would have to be done in order to take out your first MVP, or yes, your first MVP. That is your minimum viable product. So with sprint planning, you look through your backlog, you pick the the most practical task that should be completed at that time, and work on that task or put them as items for your sprint. This has to do with everybody. Everybody in the team comes together to decide on which tasks are supposed to be in your sprint for the next sprint. Now, with sprint planning, every team has their own way of going through their sprint planning or deciding on what tasks in their pool they want to work on. And one of the ways, or the one I personally enjoy using is the planning poker. With planning poker, it's sort of a game. It's gamified. Everybody um chooses, it's like cards. So everybody chooses how many um how many web counts a task is this, and then we all, once everybody decides, it shows everybody's cards. Once everybody's cards are shown, now we see if everybody is on the same line. If everybody agrees, then you move on. But if there's any there are any discrepancies, or some people have other opinions on what should be done first, then everybody shares their ideas on why I think this is the one we should do first. Now brings that helps the team grow because everybody is heard, everybody is listened to at every point in time. So that is the planning poker method. Now we also have the um, daily stand up. For the daily stand up, it's a very short, mostly 15 minutes meeting where everybody speaks on what they are doing at the time. So if you have what you've done yesterday, what you are doing today, and any blockers, that's mostly what the agenda for daily stand-ups are. What you did yesterday, you speak about it. What you did, what you are going to be doing, or what you plan to do that day, you speak about it. And then your challenges. This helps us I mean the team, to be able to work on very small tasks but still progress quickly. Because I mean, if you know that tomorrow you'd be having a meeting where you need to tell what you did yesterday, I'm not sure you'd sit around to wait or not do so much. You'll try to do something so that you wouldn't have the same things being said every day. There's accountability. Yes, there's accountability in the daily stand up, and that is why it's very important, or it's a ceremony or event in the Scrum team. Now we have the sprint. The sprint is a 2 to 4 weeks long uh, event, if I should say. So with a sprint, for most teams they use 2 weeks, but for some teams also use 4 weeks. With a sprint, you pick all the things that have been decided on from your sprint planning are the things to be worked on during the sprint. Once the sprint has ended, there should be a viable product or testable product that's um, that that should come out of your sprint. Remember that we said in the Agile manifesto that we are focusing on working solutions rather than comprehensive documentation. This is where this ties. So within that 2 weeks, if you said, okay, we would be doing user authentication, it means that by the end of the sprint, end-to-end user authentication should be done. UI done, front end done, back end done, testing done. Everything should be ready, and we should be able to say that at the end of this 2 week sprint, this is what I have been able to do. Then we have the sprint review. So at the end of that 2 weeks of your sprint, you'd have a review where you show what has been done or what was agreed to be done to the stakeholders, the product owner. Everybody comes around, everybody looks at what was done in the sprint. Now, in that, there's feedback gathering. There's um there's feedback gathering in the sprint review. In that sprint review as well, we have the sprint retrospective. That is the reflection of what has been done in the sprint, and then we also look at how we would be improving. So it means that from the first um from the first side, you finished something, you've been able to do something. Now, was was it um was this sprint successful first? We look at it. If it wasn't successful, why wasn't it successful? What can we do better next time? Then, were your team members working well with each other? Was teamwork really playing out in the process? If no, how can we make it better? That is basically what is done in the retrospective. Everybody shares ideas, and usually this is done anonymously so that everybody can express themselves. You can use boards, whiteboards. There are so many collaborative whiteboards available now, some of them like Miro and some others that you can use to do your retrospective. Everybody puts down what they felt didn't go well, everybody puts down what they felt went well, and everybody puts down what their ideas are for the next sprint or how to improve. With that, everybody is able to learn and nobody feels attacked or anything. Like the team is able to grow and learn from their mistakes. Then we have the backlog refinement. The backlog refinement is where you look at your backlog and see that, okay, these things were said to be done in this sprint. Unfortunately, we were not able to cover that. We would have to reprioritize and put them in another sprint so that we can progress with our delivery. That is backlog refinement, prioritization of your tasks or deliverables in your backlog. Then now we finally have the release planning. This is where you think about what we have to do once once we are going live or once we are releasing our product. What should we do? What is our plan? What's our long-term market go-to-market plan? That is release planning. Now I'd move on to the second framework. The second framework is the Kanban. The Kanban is the visual um, the visual agile methodology of method or framework that we have. With Kanban, everybody sees what is in the backlog, as I said early on. Everybody sees what is in progress. Everybody sees what is being tested and what is done. Now with Kanban, it helps you visualize your tasks. It helps you to limit the amount or the number of work that is in progress so that you don't have too many things in progress that are not getting finished. And that way, we are able to quickly um, close tasks and deliver on our project. Now, there's an example of a Kanban board. We have the backlog, we have the in progress, we have the peer review, in test, done, blocked, fast track, or defect. Now I explain it briefly. So on the backlog, we have all our tasks as mentioned early on. Everything that we would be doing or would need to do to be able to deliver on our project, we have in our backlog. Then in progress, every every person in the team puts down what they are currently working on in the in progress tab. Then once you are done working on it, you move it to peer review, where other people are able to go in and review your work to be sure that it is meeting the definition of done. Once peer review is done and everything is fine, it's moved to testing, where the QA person also um, does his magic to find the bugs, to make sure that users don't experience any anomalies once they start using the product. Then if everything is fine, it goes to done. But in the test phase, if there's something wrong, it is moved or it is put in the fast track or defect tab. Now, in this tab, developers promptly act or fix whatever bugs are in the product, or whatever bugs that the QA person or tester or engineer has found. And once that is fixed, it goes back to testing. Once the test is done and everything seems to be fine, now it moves to done. If for any reason there are blockers or tasks that need to be on hold at any point in time, they are put under the blocked tab. Now, there are three core um, practices or principles of the Kanban framework. The first one would be to visualize. It gives you the visual, the board, the view of what is going on in your product development phase. Then we also have the limits work in progress count, which is usually called the whip count. Limiting whip count is making sure that people are not doing too many things in progress at the same time. They are doing fewer tasks, and in that way, it's going to help with the quality of work that is even produced, and also help with the delivery time, making sure that we are able to deliver right on the time that we are being asked to deliver, or we have decided to deliver. Then managing of workflows. Now, we also, as we saw earlier, we have the backlog, we have the places for blockers or the ones that are on hold, we have the place for to do in progress, testing, and all of that. So, this helps us manage our workflows and helps us to easily see when there's something wrong. I mean, if for 2 3 days straight, there's this one action or task that has always been on in progress, then you know that it is time for you to look for solutions for that. So it helps you manage your workflows in order to deliver on your product. Now, finally, I'll speak about the common applications that or softwares that we have in Agile development, which would help us to be able to do our product management role when we are using Agile methodology. First, I'll speak about Trello. Trello is free, or mostly free, if I should say. So you can be able to um, start practicing using Trello. You can um, spin up a Kanban board in Trello and be able to work with it. We also have the Jira. Jira is mainly paid for, I think. So Jira is also widely used by product managers for the Agile um, method, because it's easy to use, yes, and and it gives you so much flexibility. For instance, you can be able to manage the number of tasks that a user or a team member can put in progress in your Kanban board. So nobody can put, maybe if you put a limit of one, nobody can put more than one task in progress once using Jira. Miro is mainly a collaboration board or a collaboration tool, and you can use it for your planning poker, your sprint planning, retrospects, and all of that. The Asana and then GitLab are all um, also applications that can be used with the Agile process to help you deliver on your tasks. So now I'll pause here and then ask for any questions. If you have any questions, I'll just pause and hear them.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, all right, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for the session. I think I learned a lot from this particular session. So, all right, guys, if you have questions, please go ahead and drop your questions. At least we get to answer all your questions. I can see some messages here, but there are no questions in quotes. So, guys, please go ahead and drop your questions if you have any, so that Kulolai can, okay, so that she can take your questions. Kulolai. So, guys, you have about say 3 minutes to do that. Please go ahead and drop your questions now. Okay, so I have the first question here. I'm displaying it on the screen. If you can see it, let me know.
Yes. Okay. So, what
Can
is
you see
the
it?
difference between? Yes, I can see it. The question is, what is the difference between the product manager and then the product owner? So, a product manager is the one who manages the product. The the product manager works with the product owner, but it's not the same person because the product owner is the customer, if I should say, the customer who brings the the products or the idea to you to build. Now, the product owner is the one who works with the team, which is the development team, to streamline things, explain to them. Earlier, I mentioned that the product manager is the requirements expert. The person understands in detail what the product owner desires and is able to translate to the engineers as well for them to also understand that this is um, the required the the requirements of the customer, and this is what we need to do in order to satisfy the needs of our customer. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Ochiko, there's no way to use an your questions if you have any. So please go ahead and type out your question. Also, I'll be dropping Bilali's LinkedIn handle, so you can go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn. I think that is fine. So you can connect with her as well on LinkedIn. So you get to see what she talks about and interact with her content as well. Okay. So so this question here, it's displayed on the screen clearly.
So, Agile is not an app. Agile is um, is a method that is used by product managers um, and software developers or developing teams to be able to get or deliver their products in time and in the right quality. So, as I said earlier, we have so many different frameworks in Agile, and some of them are the Scrum and then the Kanban, where you'd work on once you are given a project, say build um, a, build a food delivery application for me. Now, given that project, what how would you go about it? Would you go about writing all the requirements you have for that project before you start your delivery, before you do testing, before you go live? Or you'd break it down into small different tasks. Once you break it down into small different tasks, you pick them one after the other, build, refine, make it better, come back, do new ones, make it better, come back, release your first MVP and move on to the next. That is um, agile development. Agile development basically is a process or a method that is chosen to deliver on on your product. So if you go with deciding to go with the sequential method, then you'll be going with the waterfall method, as I mentioned earlier, or you'd be going with the agile method where you'd group things into small different tasks or sprints and then deliver them um, quickly and refine them as and when you need to refine them so that in the end you have a beautiful product which is usually even in a month or 3 months. You're able to quickly put things together once everybody is in tune, is clear on things. You're able to quickly put things together rather than wasting time on so long um, processes, tools, documentations, and all of that. So that is the agile development process. I hope it makes sense or answers your question. If not, please um, rephrase and ask.
So, all right, you can rephrase and ask your question just like she has said. That if you don't understand what was explained. So, thank you so much, Kulali, for this session. We learned a lot. I'm sure we could get the slides across to the students so that they could go over it
Yeah.
once again. And then also remember, this particular video is on YouTube, so you can always go back and rewatch it and come back with your questions. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I think it's safe to end the session. Also, guys, her LinkedIn handle has been dropped in the comment section, so you can go ahead and follow Kulali on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for having us. Thank you for coming on this call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. So have a lovely day ahead. Bye.
Bye.